The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. The ground is shifting in West Africa in a move that has sent shockwaves from Dakar to Washington. Senegal, under the bold leadership of Ousmane Sonko, has drawn a hard line and said no to the IMF. For decades, the International Monetary Fund dictated the economic fate of African nations behind closed doors, trading loans for control, austerity, and silence. But today, Senegal is rewriting the script. Senegal is rewriting the script. This is not just an economic decision. This is a declaration of sovereignty. Sonko's message is clear. Senegal's future will no longer be negotiated in foreign boardrooms, nor will its people be sacrificed on the altar of IMF conditions. At a time when many leaders bow to pressure, Senegal has chosen resistance, dignity, and self-determination. Is this the beginning of a new African economic awakening? Or the moment the old global order realized Africa is no longer asking for permission?
Mr. Ousmane Sonko, more and more Senegalese economists are talking about the need to restructure Senegal's public debt. What do you think? Are you still against it?
Thank you.
For the question related to regarding restructuring, I want to remind that we all know the situation we inherited, which at the beginning was the subject of all sorts of disputes and challenges. Today, at least, there is no longer any debate about the reality of this hidden debt by the former regime, which is particularly serious. And all the legal consequences will be drawn from it, because we cannot compromise like that the future and even the present of a state and a people for strictly political considerations. I was going to say electoral. And the sanction must be firm enough so that no public authority ever dares to behave like this again. But a situation that must be managed from the moment the assessment has been made, established, and validated by everyone, by Senegal, our authorized institutions, the General Inspectorate of Finances, the Court of Auditors, the government, the President of the Republic, but also by all our bilateral and multilateral partners. It is no longer a subject of debate. When a country finds itself with a debt of 119%, a country that is moreover poor, a deficit of almost 13%, it's a particular situation. I was going to say almost catastrophic, because no politician would want to inherit a country in this situation. It put us in difficulties in managing these first months or these first 2 years of governance, and certainly for some time after, still. We are not in fatalism. We consider that it is the Senegalese people who must face this situation, who must rise as one and to understand that sacrifices are needed to catch up, overcome the situation, and put this country on track permanently. And before any other partner, it is up to the Senegalese people to do it. That is why we have worked on solutions. We have worked on developing an economic and social recovery plan, which is a plan that will indeed require a certain amount of effort and sacrifice from the Senegalese people. We have also launched a larger program of budgetary catch-up, rationalization, both of revenues and budgetary expenditures. And the decision made for the 2026 budget is quite illustrative of the efforts made on public spending, particularly on operations, but also on rational choices. And the discussions with our partners revolved around that. We considered that certainly there are difficulties, but all the work we have done allows us to see or foresee the possibility of getting out of this situation without needing a restructuring. We consider that from the analysis we have done, our debt is viable since we have been managing to repay it for a year and a half or more without any program. It's true that we are heading towards a rather difficult deadline with major sources of this debt. But until now, and without any contribution, we have managed to refinance this debt. And mainly in the regional markets, we consider that our projections for both growth and revenue are reasonable. And on that, there is no debate. It is validated by all our partners, including the fund. The main problem is the financing. We consider that the efforts we are making from the recovery plan, which just for this budget allows us to generate 960 billion more additional to the budget, and it will increase from 2027, could allow us to bridge a good part of this gap. And we started considering quite a few solutions with other partners, which lead us to believe that we can achieve it. And that is the role of the International Monetary Fund. It's when the states are in this situation and they manage by themselves and through their effort to hold on, to make substantial effort to keep going. That's it. That's where we expect the International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund is not a bank or a lender of first resort. In principle, it's a distortion of the fund's missions. And the International Monetary Fund has a share of responsibility for the situation we are experiencing. Because he was there. He came to do his staff visits, his reviews. He cannot say he was not informed about what happened. And that is why other countries have been in this situation. I will cite, for example, Egypt. And the fund came to support Egypt. What did the general objective say? I cannot abandon a country that is in this situation and is making effort to recover. Egypt's indicators were not more promising than ours currently. And so we cannot understand why they want to impose a restructuring on us under these conditions. This is not an education of Ousmane Sonko. It is an education of the President of the Republic of Senegal, the government of Senegal, through its Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Economy, and all those who have expertise in the matter. And we continue to maintain this position. Nothing has changed in the meantime. It is not statements from economists or some other components that will lead us to change our position, but it is a partnership. Each partner will draw the consequences they wish, but the official stance is that we do not want this restriction. Thank you.
This is a very bold move from Ousmane Sonko because IMF we know has been the problem of Africa in the guise of helping us, helping our economies to grow. This is always how they package everything. Yet we know what we are going through is as a result of IMF and World Bank. Africans' economies are not growing because of these institutions created by foreign whatever. And at the end of the day, the fate of the African is decided in their boardrooms, which Senegal is saying no to it. And this is a bold decision that Senegal has done, and we need to say thank you. Restructuring. We saw what this debt restructuring has caused many nations. Ghana is one, whereby to the point that even pensioners were going through hardship, to the point that they can't even afford their medical bills because of this debt restructuring that the president at that time allowed to happen in Ghana in the name of helping the African. Yet at the end of the day, the citizens suffered most. Like he said, this didn't start today, and they will not need IMF to complete it. But whatever the situation might be, they will try to find solutions. And until we are able to own ourselves, shift our attention from this so-called help they claim they give to us, Africa will always be where it is. And we all must rise against any institutions by these foreign people with all the gold, the diamond, the bauxite, with all these things that we have. If we can change our fate, is it by going to be borrowing every blessed day? And they're making sure that it is a must for you to come for that money. If this money is actually for the good of Africa, will there be any force attached to it? I don't think it would have been so. But because they know it benefits them and not you, They have to always bring these things, because through this restructuring, through these IMF policies, we know how Africa is losing big time, because they give us conditions they know our leaders can never fulfill. And we must fight to liberate ourselves. Like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, what is the essence of us having independence without economic independence? Because the economy of Africa is still heavily decided by these people. And this is 21st century, and we must say no. We must say no. We must own the narrative. We must fight for our dignity and our sovereignty. And that can only be achieved if we are ready to fight for total liberation. This is amazing. I am just so pleased. I'm so proud that at last we are seeing African leaders who are bold enough to take their biggest steps. Because we saw what they are doing to Botswana as well, claiming they cannot own their own diamonds. And these are the people who preach they are helping Africans. These are the people that are preaching they are helping Africans. When they don't want us to own our narrative and use the resources to benefit ourselves, we really need to wake up. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, in Senegal.